All right, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. We are now getting closer and closer to the start of the official new league year, which means free agency and trades are right around the corner. And the Bengals are about to make a really smart one. I think it sends a great message. We'll dive into this latest report. It's a good sign for Cincinnati. But first, I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, for anyone who's not aware, the Cincinnati Bengals working with linebacker Germaine Pratt. Pratt wants a trade. The Bengals reportedly are more than happy to acquiesce. It looks like some preliminary discussions. Everything's got to kind of be back channel right now, but it looks like Pratt is no longer going to be a Bengal in the Cincinnati squad. The front office are going to do everything they can to get something in return. Ian Rappaport has some good insights on this. Let's pull this up from SI.com. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network expects there to be a trade market for Pratt. The Bengals will have a market should they decide to trade him in order to free up more cash to continue re-signing their offensive weapons, Rappaport tweeted. The Bengals would probably love to get a day 3 draft pick in return for the veteran. There's real belief in league circles that they were going to move on from Pratt this offseason. Real belief, excuse me. The Bengals would open up 5.6 million in cap space if they traded or released Pratt. All right, Pratt was sort of Lou Anarumo's guy or one of them, and Pratt had a terrible season for Cincinnati last year. Pratt now wants a trade. Ostensibly, makes sense. Maybe he wants to go to the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of people thought maybe he gets cut. I think the Bengals trade him just to get something in return, and I think it sends a great message to the rest of the roster. But Miles, I know you've got a few thoughts on this report, but Bengals fans, what do you think of this potential Germaine Pratt trade? Are you happy to see him leave? Or do you really wish he'd find a way to make it work out long term? Or maybe you don't care. You're apathetic. You're focused on other things. Give us your thoughts on this Bengals news about them trading Germaine Pratt, potentially trading Germaine Pratt, even though by all indications it seems highly likely to happen. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But Myers, your turn. What do you think of this big news out of Cincinnati?
Yeah, Nick, I think this would be a great move. I think it would send great vibes to the Bengals team just to be able to move off of Pratt and get something for him. Because you look at what you're able to get out of a guy like Pratt, I think there's not a whole lot there as far as what you can get in value. But if you get a high day 3 pick for Pratt, I think you're pretty excited about that if you're the Cincinnati Bengals because you were in a position that you were going to have to pretty much release him with all of the contracts that you have in front of you that you have to make good. And saving that $5.6 million along with getting some sort of draft capital, that's got to feel great rather than just releasing him. And sure, you still get the $5.6 million in savings, but you don't get anything for a player that he has a market. There is a market out there for Germaine Pratt. There was 2022. He had a really great season with the Bengals. Was that a one off? It's looking like it. He's kind of returned to form the past 2 seasons as well. But so you're really lucky as the Bengals that there are teams out there, especially you mentioned it. I think the team at the top of the list is the Indianapolis Colts. That is the team I'm looking at if I'm the Bengals saying, hey, Lou Anarumo, we've got your guy and you can have him for the low price of a day 3 draft pick. How else would you get a guy like Germaine Pratt for a day 3 pick? I think that would be a really, really solid move by the Bengals there to move off of him there. But there's other teams on the trade block as well. There's rumors that the Rams, they're looking for another linebacker as well to add to their roster. That's a name that's been floated out there. So I think there's a couple of options out there for the Bengals. But when you're the Bengals and you have guys in front of you, when Burrow came out, he named the guys that are part of the plan going forward for this team. You've got Hendricks, you got Chase, you've got Gesicki that you got to figure out what to do with. Is Higgins part of the plan? None of those guys can be a part of the plan if you have Germaine Pratt on the roster. So releasing him, trading him, that's the route that they got to go. And I think getting the draft capital through this trade would be a major upside for the Bengals.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I think one of the things that's really important to understand what's going on this offseason, I think it's clear as day up to this point, things can change obviously, is that Tobin, Blackburn, everybody in the Bengals front office, they have made a clear effort. If you look at every move they've made, is that they've decided this is Joe Burrow's team. We're going to go as Joe Burrow goes. We're going to do everything we can for Burrow. Look at the coaches they fired. Defensive guys. Lou Anarumo, gone. And staff, gone completely. How about offensive line coach Pollock? he's gone. But they keep Zach Taylor. Why? Taylor's the only head coach, only offensive coordinator, play caller that Joe Burrow has ever worked with, so coming with Cincinnati, right? They didn't want to completely upset the apple cart right there. Obviously, they probably talked to Burrow, and Burrow, at least behind the scenes, seems to be okay with Taylor's performance. So the Bengals stick with him. They basically fire almost everybody else. We're now hearing Germaine Pratt, right? They're going to trade him, or Pratt wants to trade. Bengals reportedly are going to acquiesce. That's again focusing dollars for Burrows, guys, for Higgins, for Gesicki. Everything the Bengals have done has been exclusively tailored around Joe Burrow, making sure they give him everything he needs to be successful. They've basically said, listen, we're not going to build a deep roster the way we see fit, the way Tobin, Blackburn, the way they see fit. They're right. They're saying, listen, we got a generational quarterback in Joe Burrow, probably the best player in franchise history. Obviously, Anthony Nunez, left tackle, all time great stuff. I get it. But let's be honest here, a quarterback's more important. The reality is now we have to do everything we can to give him everything he needs to win. They can look no further than outside their division in the Baltimore Ravens that waited for basically 4 years to try and load up Lamar Jackson with weapons, and they wasted a few playoff opportunities because of that. The Ravens did. I think the Bengals look at what Baltimore did with Jackson and how they treated that. They looked at how the Bills treated Josh Allen, and they said there's a lot of wasted opportunities there. We wasted one in 2024. Burrow got hurt in 2023. We're not going to let it happen again. We're going to make sure we bring Higgins back. I think the trade reports that we hear about Pratt means Higgins is coming back. Jamar Chase is going to get a mega deal. They're going to work out the tight end position. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for Kyle Pitts. We talked about that earlier this offseason. The Bengals are going exclusively Joe Burrow centric going forward. The defense is going to have issues, right? They're hoping new coaching staff fixes those things. I think Golden will be an upgrade over Anabrimo. We actually covered that a few weeks ago as well. But the reality is the Bengals as a team, front office, franchise as a whole, they are focused 100% on Joe Burrow. This is a smart trade to facilitate that strategy. I think we're going to see more moves in line with giving number 9 everything he needs to be successful. And guess what, Cincinnati fans? It's the right move to make, because if you put Joe Burrow in a good position, you will win games, you will win division titles, and you will make deep playoff runs. We've seen it before. Burrow has done it with terrible offensive line and average defense, above average defense, we'll say. If you give him a little bit better situation, he'll take you back there again. I like this approach by Cincinnati.